Welcome back, guys, to another video. Today I'm going to be doing for my top 10 cornerbacks in the 2022 NFL Draft. This is still pre-combine, and especially for the cornerback position, combine can tell you a lot just because speed, agility, stuff like that. It's a huge part of the position. But some honorable mentions just to get started. Kobe Bryant, I want to say he won the award for best DB in the nation, which is kind of funny because he's not even the best DB on his team. But he was pretty sticky in the one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl. He goes to Cincinnati. I watched him versus Notre Dame, and he seems like a pretty average athlete, but he has good technique, good ball skills, and he didn't really press at all, which compared to Sauce on the other side, it's still man a lot, but it was more off man. Overall, I like him. Probably still day two guy, but more so round three. Martin Emerson, this guy's probably going to be in a lot of people's top tens. He has a good size, 6'2", 200. He's a good tackler, but he has average athleticism. But he's pretty good in coverage for his somewhat limited athleticism. He's going to be 21 and a half, I want to say, when he's drafted. And he's out of Mississippi State, I'm pretty sure. Marcus Jones is a guy who a lot of people, just watching his highlights, a lot of people have been hyped up about recently. And I obviously liked his highlights as well, but he's going to be 23 almost and a half when he's drafted, I'm pretty sure, which is really old, especially for a corner, just big and athletic position like corner or receiver. When speed starts to fall off, once you hit that 30, 31, 32 mark, it becomes much more difficult to do your job at a high level unless you're incredibly smart, like a Richard Sherman, where you can just kind of sit back in zone and read what's happening in front of you and react to it. You don't have to stick with the guy one-on-one the whole game. But he's 5'8", so probably slot only. He played offense at times. He's a very, very good kick and punt returner. He has a very good feel for the game. He's an all-around plus athlete, aggressive. But he's also probably a third-round guy. Daryan Kendrick, this guy's also going to be in a lot of guys' top tens. He struggled in the Senior Bowl a little bit. He's super physical, but doesn't seem that athletic, especially with deep speed and makeup speed. I want to say he got burned for sure once. I don't remember if it was Calvin Austin or not. He does have pretty good ball skills, though. Depending on how he tests, he could probably go into my top 10 corners, and he's going to be, I think, about 21 and a half when he's drafted as well. This guy, I don't even know how to say his name. Caleb Evans, I want to say. This is a guy I really like. He went to Tulsa and then transferred to Mizzou, but he had a pretty good Senior Bowl. He plays the ball really well. I want to say he had back-to-back pass breakups. He breaks well on the ball. He's going to be 22.8 when he's drafted, which is pretty old. He looks like a good athlete. He's pretty physical, but he did get lost in coverage a couple times on his tape, just a couple times, which is a pretty big deal for a cornerback, and he might be a little bit too handsy, but a lot of guys on this list have the same issue. So getting into my top 10, at number 10, we have Daryl Flott, who I go to LSU, so I've seen a lot of him. He's 6'1", 165. Really, just that weight is going to be his biggest problem, though. He needs to put on a little bit more mass, try and get up to at least 175 probably. But for a day one slot corner, I like him a lot. He's definitely a plus athlete, good ball skills. He's a willing tackler. For him, it really is just seeing if he can add on some mass, because he's been at LSU for 3 years now, and I guess compared to his freshman year, he does look a little bit bigger, but the fact that he's not at that 170, even 170, 175, preferably 6'1", like 180, does say a little bit something. So hopefully with an NFL diet, even though I don't know how much different that's going to be than an LSU diet, hopefully he can put on a little bit more weight. But he's possibly an outside corner. He has good length, good size, but for sure would be pretty good in the slot from day one. At number 9, we have Jalen Petry. A lot of guys are higher on him than I am. He's 6 foot, 197. He was listed as safety, I want to say. He was Baylor's best defender, one of the best and most, I shouldn't say best, one of the most experienced and smartest defenders in the nation. He projects more as a slot corner, possibly a little bit like hybrid. But I just didn't really see a top-end slot corner from him at the Senior Bowl. He seems a little bit too handsy. He's pretty old at 22.8 when he is going to be drafted, but he does have great instincts. He's a very good tackler and average to slightly plus athlete. But I don't think he put out amazing film at the Senior Bowl for how old and how experienced he is. I think that he just should have showed up a little bit better. At number 8, we have Daxton Hill, who is also in this picture down here. He is 6 feet, 192, 6 foot, 192. He's going to be 21 and a half when drafted. Projects as a slot corner. He is an extremely aggressive tackler. He looks pretty athletic and explosive, but he's also a very quick processor, just like Petry. And I think that he's going to thrive in the hybrid slot corner safety-ish role in the NFL. Mainly just difference between him and Petry. Athleticism, I saw a little bit more out of Daxton Hill. And how much younger is he? And he's over a year younger as well. But mainly similar to Petry in terms of slot corner, good tackler, good processing, but I just see a little bit more juice in the athleticism out of Daxton Hill. Number 8, we have Kyler Gordon, who, speaking of juice, this dude, I want to say 2-time Bruce Feldman's Freak List member, 6 foot, 200, insanely athletic, willing attacker, so he's not afraid to use his athleticism. He has insane burst, and I want to say he's going to be 22 at the beginning of the NFL season. His teammate Trent Mcduffie, who might be higher on this list, They have similar athleticism. I'm really interested to see what they run in the 40 at the combine, but he just doesn't have quite as good of technique and quite as good of ball skills as McDuffie. The pure athleticism and build, they're pretty similar, and in terms of willing to use their athleticism, their physicality, it's pretty similar as well. But I just think McDuffie's a little bit ahead of him technique wise. So I have him at number 7. And I want to say Daxton Hill, I would possibly be okay with in the second. Petry, second or third. Kyler Gordon, probably in the second. And then at number 6, this dude, Roger McCreary. I have 6 foot question mark because for corners, especially outside corners, that 6 foot mark is a pretty big deal for NFL teams. And in college, you can basically lie about it. So if you list yourself as 6 foot, you're more likely to be drafted higher for that outside corner role. I mean, I have no idea if he's 6 foot. I don't think he is. He looked more 5'9", 5'10", and it says that he's 190, or he says that he's 190, which is possible. But at the Senior Bowl, it came out that I want to say he has 29-inch arms, which is very, very, very short arms. I'm 6'2", and I don't know. I want to say I have 32-inch arms. I'm not a huge dude, but he's extremely sticky in coverage. He has good athleticism. He's pretty physical, willing attacker. He'd be great in the slot, and I would want to try him on the outside. He's experienced. I watched his game against Bama. He's pretty good at the catch point. He did get cooked on the last play, the game-winning play. It was I don't know what the NFL calls it. We called it a squirrel route when I played. He's going to be just above 22 when he gets drafted. But he's athletic. He's sticky. I mean, being sticky in coverage is probably the most important thing when you're a cornerback, just being there to make a play or have the opportunity to make a play on the ball, which he does. But in the NFL, if you get a Mike Williams or T. Higgins on him, he can stick with them. I just don't know how he's going to do at the catch point against NFL big body receivers. And yes, arm length, size, that's just a piece of the puzzle, but it's still a piece. It still matters. And I think any weakness that you have in college is only going to be taken advantage of more once you're in the NFL. And I could just see him struggling with that a little bit more once he gets into the NFL. I would still possibly be okay with him at the very tail end of the first round, but I would like him more mid to early second round. And then at number 5, we have Kaiir Elam, 6'2", 196, large physical corner. He's a little bit inconsistent, and he struggled with penalties throughout his career, but he's not even going to be 21 by the time he's drafted, and I think it's called Dominator rating. I still need to look more into that. But I am definitely a fan of when players dominate at a younger age, just because it shows you how mature they are physically, but also mentally. There are, still red flags if they don't develop past that, but I place a little bit more value in dominating at a young age. I watched his game for Bama as well. Um, he's in press man basically every single play. He seems to have pretty good physical tools. All these guys, I'm going to say I'm interested to see what they're going to test at the combine, especially for the cornerback position. But it looked like he was pretty quick, was a plus athlete, good burst, good long speed. He did drop one pick, and he got called for a PI that game. His biggest issues definitely tackling. Though he's not very willing, and also not that great at it. He overran guys and never wanted to really pursue anybody unless they're coming right at him and he had to. So tackling, I'm trying to think if any of these previous guys have had issues with tackling. Really Flott, maybe. All these other guys are pretty good tacklers, or at least willing tacklers. And Kair's bigger than all of them, but he's just almost avoids contact unless it's in coverage, in which he's very physical, which is just kind of weird. But he's definitely going to need to work on his tackling once he gets into the league. But in terms of frame, athleticism, experience, and just coverage skills, I would still be okay taking him at the tail end of round 1. My fourth cornerback is Andrew Booth Jr. This guy I had as my second best corner, I want to say right when I started watching tape. He is 6 foot, 195. All these guys just say 6 foot, 6'1", 195, 200, which they might be, but that's also just kind of what the NFL likes the most historically. He's going to be 21.5 when he's drafted. I watched him versus Georgia. He played off coverage most snaps, and I said he baited a throw, but almost let up a first down because of it, even though he could have just been right there to make a play anyway, or just not let the quarterback throw it his way. He has really, really good feet, great read and react. He's a solid tackler. He's not looking for contact, but in terms of if he has to, he's willing, and I saw him blow up a couple screens, so compared to Kair, it's definitely much, much, much less of a question mark. I think he's a little bit better of an athlete than Kair. Definitely has some of the best feet in this class in terms of fluidity and breaks. So I don't think I saw much press out of him, but off man and zone, he has NFL size, NFL coverage skills, NFL ball skills. I think he's probably going to end up going top 20, and I think really anywhere in the first round outside of the top 10, I would be okay taking Andrew Booth Jr. At number 3, I have Trent McDuffie. Move this a little bit more. He is 5'11", 195. He's also on Bruce Feldman's freak lists. I've aged 21-ish. I couldn't find his birthday and actual age. He's probably a sub 4'5", 40 guy, but his athleticism comes out with his burst and explosiveness, similar to Kyler Gordon. He has, just like I said before, he has good technique and ball skills, but especially when compared to Kyler Gordon, just because it's easy when they're on the same field to watch them at the same time, kind of. He's a solid tackler. He's aggressive, high IQ. extremely aggressive in pursuit, I would say. Doesn't really give up on plays, and him and McCreary had a lot of, I don't know what it would really be called, but even if the run was to the other side, if they were on a run blitz call or even playing in the slot or closer to the line of scrimmage, plays where they would just run all the way around the backside and catch them from behind, which a lot of these guys wouldn't even try to do, but McDuffie for sure has the athleticism to pull it off, and he did do it a lot. McCreary was the other one who was also pretty willing to do that. But McDuffie, I would definitely top 15. I'll be okay with him. He's a pretty surefire guy. If I was thinking of tiers, I'm torn if it would be the top 3 guys or the top 4 guys. I don't know if I would want to put Booth with McDuffie and the other 2 guys. I'm probably going to come out with a tier, like rankings list for possibly each position at some point, but I'm torn on whether like tier 1 is the top 3 or top 4 guys. But McDuffie, I don't know if he's a blue chip guy, probably not, but he's a pretty surefire, at least slot guy, at least rotational guy. But I think he is a plug and play, at least cornerback 2, cornerback 1 upside, especially with his athleticism though. My second cornerback is Sauce Gardner. He's listed at 6'3", 200. He's going to be 21.7 when he's drafted. Sauce, I'm just interested to see where he tests. If he runs a good 40, if he runs sub 4.5, I don't think he's making it outside the top 10. Sub 4.5 would be pretty good for him though, just because of how long he is, how big he is. He never really won with his speed, but he is extremely experienced. Everybody has heard this stat, but he has never let up a touchdown in college. I don't think he ever let up a touchdown in high school either. He is true press man. I want to say almost every single snap I saw him take was in press man. Or actually he played some off man against Bama too. And he's not even possibly, he is the most sure corner in this draft, I think. Even if he runs a little bit above a 4.5, he's so technically sound, so good at the catch point, so sticky in coverage, so fluid, that even if he's just above 4.5, if you can run a 4.3, he's not going to let you run 4.3. And he's so long, he's going to be able to stick with you at the catch point either way. But Sauce and the next guy on my list are I think, only 2 guys in this draft who have island potential, where it's kind of like Ramsey Island or Revis Island, the possibly original. I mean, Deion Sanders and Woodson. I don't know if it was ever called like Woodson Island, but I just remember Revis Island being the first one. But I could see him developing into a possibly not as good as Jalen Ramsey, but in terms of island corner where you can stick him on the outside and forget about that receiver for the entire play. You don't need to send. You don't need to double that guy. You don't need a safety over the top to help him. Just set it and forget it, kind of. And then my number 1 guy I can just move this. No, I can't. Alright, we're just going to do that. Is Derek Singley. Derek Singley Jr., listed at 6'1", 195. I got to watch him live I was about to say my true freshman year. His true freshman year was also my freshman year in 2019, the championship year. He was definitely my favorite player to watch. He's just so insanely athletic. I remember right when I decided to go to LSU, looking at like their football program and what not to play football here just because I love football, but seeing what prospects they were signing, and I saw Derek Singley, like 5-star top cornerback recruit. I want to say he definitely ran a 4.3 in high school, over 40-inch vertical in high school too, which is just absolutely absurd. Definitely has island corner potential. He basically was an island corner his freshman year. He has insane ball skills. He got beat a couple times on in-breaking routes just because he's so good on the outside and deeper routes at the catch point, but I kind of wanted to see him force guys to go there a little bit more, if that makes sense. Guys could kind of set him up to go outside and then cut in, and he got beat that way a couple of times, but he's not even going to be 21 by the time he's drafted. He has a little bit better size than McDuffie and Gordon, but in terms of ball skills, feel for the game, and possibly even athleticism, he's on a different level than even those guys, especially in terms of 40 speed, just deep speed, recoverability, which is what being a corner is all about. I really think day one, Derek Singley has island potential. If he's healthy. There have been some injury concerns. I am well aware of those. I want to say something with his foot, possibly both the last 2 years, but I mean, if he's healthy, he's for sure a top 5 pick. I would be okay taking him number 1 overall. Just an absolute monster on the outside. I mean, possibly one of my favorite players in this draft, Derek Singley. If I were to bet, he's going to be a monster for almost a decade, possibly a decade in the NFL. But that is my top 10 cornerback ratings. I might do another top 10 after the combine or come back and review this video. But that should do it. I might have a mock draft coming out tomorrow or the next day. But I want to do one with trades just because that's what I think the Chargers should do. Chargers mock draft, not everybody mock draft. But don't forget to like and subscribe and leave some comments. I was getting a good amount of comments on my last video, starting some arguments with some people talking football, talking Chargers, but I will see you guys in the next video.